Welcome to this week's training. If you've been following us the past few weeks, you know we said that we were going to divert from our usual path of doing a weekly training based on the past week's plays and games. So we didn't want to put any kind of focus on a crew that was being evaluated for playoffs. So we want to keep an even level playing field. We are going to be doing reviews and plays from these weeks, but we're going to be releasing those after finals. So it gives us some content in the off season for one, and then like I said, it keeps the playing field even. So what we're going to do this week is we're going to do a re-examination of the play. Some of you don't know the play that we referred to is it happened in I believe it was a 3A final from a few years ago. Two teams playing in the final from 3A, and this play happened near the end of the game. The team offense here, they were down, they were driving, trying to score to either go ahead or tie. Can't remember, but a play happened. A very controversial play. Sparked a lot of, obviously a lot of scrutiny in the state, made some national headlines, whole big huckbuck, but we decided let's re-examine this with a fresh lens, 2020 vision in the rearview mirror, and see what we can get from it. So some of you may be saying, why would we re-examine this play? Everything kind of caused the fallout. Why would we go back and redo it? Because you can learn a lot from past mistakes, obviously. So that's what we want to look at. We want to look at how we can improve upon this, obviously, so this doesn't happen again. If you want, you can click the little bar to come across the screen at the top here. We'll take you to the 3A review of the whole game, actually. But we cover this part pretty in depth at the beginning. So there's the intro to that. So as a refresher, let's just watch the play beginning to end. Hold on. Alright, beginning to end. And there you see, so for those of you that this is maybe the first time you've seen this, try to think about, stop right here, think about what you got. You've seen it one time, fast motion, what do you got? Do you have incomplete pass, catch and fumble, or catch and he's down? What do you have? So we'll play it again. So that's it in that. Here's the GPV feed of it. Because what they're going to give you here in a little bit. Of course, they can give you the angles. They can give you the slow motion. Here we go. So that's it. We're gonna break this down mechanically, rules, because this is a revisit of this whole play with refreshed eyes. So first, I want to look at this. This is a crew of 6. This is before we went to crews of 7 in the playoffs. You can argue that this was the impetus for that. I would argue it was in the makings anyway. A coincidence is what made this happen. But let's look at this. We'll look at it from all angles. Crew of 7, let's look at that because that's one we're mainly working with now in Georgia. So a crew of 7, back judge is going to have this inside receiver, this third receiver. Headline judge will have this one. Side judge will have the outside receiver. And we tell you those are just initial keys. You really let the players determine where you're going to go. Because if your key is not unthreatened, he may just be kind of a decoy. then we don't want you hanging on them too long. Now, that being said, when we get near the red zone and inside the red zone here, we hold our keys a little longer than we normally would. We're not as quick to move off the keys. So we got our keys. Let's look at it. All right, so let's go back and see who does what. So remember, back judge, we're telling you got the third guy. But let's see, is he threatened? And I'm going to argue no. So we would come off him pretty easy. And same thing with the headline judge. You wouldn't take him on too quickly either. And that's really where, and that's why I even said, I can't remember if I said it in the initial review, but I've said since then, even crew of 7, I'm not sure we see this completely because everything happens so fast on this play. If you hold your key long, you may not see it. If you transition off your key, you're definitely not going to see it. So really, the only real threat at the moment is the player in question. So he's going to go out in that zone pretty quickly. Which this is the area that the side judge will cover. And you see this receiver coming into the area that the back judge will cover. So a couple things happen here. First of all, this receiver, he goes out of bounds. He's out right there. See his foot in the white. He's out of bounds. Now, taking off of mechanics for a hot second, it looks like we have both pairs of officials, or both pairs of officials' eyes on the receiver's feet out of bounds. So now we have the rule that comes into question. Illegal participation. The receiver cannot go out on his own and then come back in. And there's two parts to that rule. First of all, they have to go out on their own. If they're forced out, blocked out, then it's okay, as long as they're coming back in at their first opportunity. So that's the first part of that rule. The second part of that rule is, even if they go out of bounds on their own, that is not the foul. The foul is if they go out of bounds and then come back in. So if he goes out of bounds on his own, comes back in, now we have a foul. We don't have a foul till he comes back in. So you can see he's not forced out. He goes out on his own. He's out of bounds right there. He went out on his own. Now he comes back in. This is the point where this becomes a foul. And if you're flagging it, you're going to flag it here, because this is where it has become a foul. Now, a lot of this gets mixed up. It's important to note, if he goes out of bounds, comes back in and catches it, it is not illegal touching. Because if he is an eligible receiver, which he is in this case, then legal touching is if an eligible receiver touches it. But once you are eligible, you're always eligible throughout the down. Even if you run out of bounds, you're still eligible. So that your only foul here is legal participation. So that's that part of it. So it's going to be who sees this. Like I said, we have both officials see this, because it looks like they're both looking when he's out of bounds, which is right here. You can follow the eyes. They both see it. So why wasn't it flagged? Can't speak for them. I'm just going to guess. This is a situation you don't see a whole lot. And you know how it is when you're officiating. If you see something you're not used to seeing, you can be hesitant to flag it, because you're kind of processing what you just saw. So that could be part of it. Another part of it could be they may not have seen the whole play. Remember what I said, the mere act of being out of bounds is not a foul. Neither is the mere act of going out of bounds and coming back in. If they're forced out, it's still legal. It becomes a foul when they go out on their own and then come back in. So if they were not following this receiver the whole time, they would not have seen whether or not he was forced out or not. So then they wouldn't have thrown the flag. And that's why it's important to hold your keys. Now, like I said, in the red zone, closer to the red zone, we hold keys a wee bit longer. But someone should have seen that. I don't think that's the wing, especially in Crow 7. I don't think the wing stays on the receiver that long. I think about right now, the side judge picks up this receiver. Back judge, you're going to pick up this receiver. In my opinion. That's one area where a 7th official helps. So now let's look at the other aspect of the play. Let's just say, pretend for argument's sake, let's say he doesn't go out of bounds. He stays in bounds, catches this pass. So now we have to look at, is this an incomplete pass? Is it a catch and fumble? Now I will say, the side judge here, great job of selling this. But, if you do a great job of selling an incorrect call, good job of selling. It'd be better if you're right. But it's a good job of selling. Plus, first of all, let's go back to mechanics for a minute and back to positioning. So you heard us back when we were doing in-person camps. On the on-field stuff last year, we did a lot of emphasis on goal line, where you're positioning, and everything. So when I work field judge and side judge, when I'm positioned at the goal line like this, and this is just me. I'm not saying this is how you have to. I'm not saying this is how you have to be. This is just what I do. If they're kind of further out like this, I'll be, at an angle, looking at it, but I'm going to be wider. My left foot right here will probably be on the edge of the white. And then that way, when I have to turn to face the goal line, I can just turn. I don't have to move at all. I just basically just swing my hips. It's to be where if I'm facing down the goal line, like my toes pointing toward the goal line, I'm still outside the white. So I can still wide as be. You can even be further back. Look at all this area you have. That is all yours. And honestly, if you need further out, you can have further out. So there's no need to be this close. And I say that here because what this does, now we're moving when we need to be concentrating on the ball. And it's just like if any of you guys do baseball, we harp on being still when you make a call. So the more still you are, your eyes aren't bobbing up and down, and you can see this stuff. And take that with officiating when you can. So like I said, if it were me, like I said, this is just me, I would already be wider. Like I said, my left foot would be on the outside, so my right foot would actually be out here. Or sometimes I'm just already facing down the goal line. I just have my head turned this way. And then I'm not even moving my body. I usually do that when we get a little closer to the goal line. But that way, you're not moving. You're just slowly moving your head. Don't get so jumpy. Don't be in a hurry to move. It's all just smooth and methodical. The more methodical your movements can be, the less your eyes are jumping up and down. So there's that. So remember, going back to the actual catch, we look for possession and control. And that's what we're looking for. It's not enough just to have the football in your hand. You have to have the possession of it in your hand and in the ability where you are controlling it. So that'd be the question here. Do we have the ability to control it? And I think it's better here. I think you can see it. Possession and control. So there we have the possession. So do we have control? He's got it right now. This ball is in control. And even beyond this, here's another way we know he has control. He reaches the ball out. He's reaching out to the goal line, try to get that extra, whatever extra yardage he can. So that's one way that we can indicate he has control of this ball. Because when he's you can watch the ball as he's outstretching his hand. That ball is not moving at all. It is completely still. It's not bobbling, it's not shaking. He has complete control of that ball as he's moving it out. A lot of times you will see a player when they got just one hand with the ball and they're stretching out like that. The ball is already kind of moving out. It's kind of loose. It's not the case here. He has complete control of that ball. And it doesn't come out until it hits the ground. So he didn't lose it on the way out. So that's just a little hint on how you can see if they have possession and control. He's got enough control of that ball where he's stretching it out and it's not moving at all. So that's just one little hint on how you can see if they have possession and control. Remember, that's what we're looking for. You really want that ball. Any movement of the ball when we're judging catch, no catch, any ball movement be completely controlled by the player. And that's how you determine whether or not he has control. I want to talk about another aspect of this too. This is probably the most important, and that's communication. So in this situation, crew of 6, we also have, let's potentially say we have a crew of 7. If you see something and you can bring knowledge to the conversation, then you need to do that. So in this particular play, we have a crew of 6. When this happens, you can see the umpire is following it. So he has pretty good eyes. He has the inside look at it. And he may have knowledge here. I'm not saying he does in this situation. He may not. He may not have clearly seen it. But he may have knowledge of this was possession and control. So if he does, it is vital for him to bring that information to the crew. In a situation like this, especially, state final, waning down, last minutes of the quarter, last minutes of the game, they got to score. This is a situation where we can bring information to it that can get us to the correct outcome. So if we have information there, we need to bring it. Even if the side judge here is already signaled incomplete, if the umpire has information, he can come in and say, hold up, let's talk about this. And a crew of 7, the back judge would have a great view of this. So we're in a crew of 7. Back judge would be somewhere around here, looking at it this way, and he may have a great angle on that. So in this situation, even if side judge rules incomplete, back judge can come in and say, hold up, I have information. But only do that if you have new information to bring. We don't want to get in the habit of just doing it every time there's a close play. If you have information, you saw something that you think is different from what was indicated, bring that information to, and especially in a situation like this. So to wrap this up, let's make sure we get it right of what we would have had in this situation. So remember, this would have been illegal participation. Like when he run out of bounds right there. So we would throw the flag where he comes back in, and then whatever happens next really doesn't matter because we have illegal participation. And remember, legal participation, 15 yards, live ball, basic spot. So, if we had officiated that correctly, the rest wouldn't have even mattered. But it's all a learning experience. And remember, in this particular play, your basic spot is going to be the previous spot. There's a pass play, so it's a loose ball play, or basic spot, previous spot, and an illegal participation foul. And when I say whatever happened after doesn't matter, please understand what I mean is, all the controversy about whether or not it was a completed catch or not, like the whole controversy and everything, all that doesn't matter. Obviously, as a far result of the play, or if there's other fouls, there interceptions, stuff like that, obviously that matters. What I mean is all the controversy that erupted. If we had just got it right the first time on going out of bounds and coming back in, then we're not talking about whether or not it was an incomplete pass and all that stuff. That's what I mean by it doesn't matter. Just want to clarify that. So that's it. That's a deep dive revisit of this. Like I said, we came back here so we can learn from it. That was the whole point of this. And I hope it did you guys well. Hope you got a lot from this, even looking at it from the lens of a crew of 7. Just in future reference, looking at it from the lens of the crew of 6, it's still hard. I know, because there's a lot going on. But I think that's where you go back to the theme of officiating the threats. All right, so this player, he's never really threatened, so we don't have to keep an eye on him. And even then, here now, he's the threat. He's not really threatened at all, not yet. So I think the side judge could move here, and especially remember, man ball zone. Once you see that ball headed toward this receiver, then we definitely should have our eyes there. And we would have seen him go out of bounds, seen he went out of zone, and we have this all in. Alright, so I hope this helped. I hope this worked. I hope it didn't bring up too many bad memories. But again, like I said, this is all a learning tool. I hope we go back and we revisit this so it doesn't happen again. So that's it for this. Good luck. This is week 12. Hope everyone has a good, Light Region Championships, gearing up for the playoffs. And of course, as always, stay safe.